afternoon, everyone. So first, I want to ask Sarah, give me 2 more minutes, because after Mr. Zhi write the speech. First, I think everything we have has 2 sides, positive and negative. And first, I want to see Mr. Zhi give the speech about how to protect ourselves from the control check from the government. I want to say my speech is about how to get support from the government. Then finally, I find Mr. Zhi gave a very perfect speech from both sides. I want to say I have nothing to say, but since I'm here, and I want to thank Mr. Ricardo, because Mr. Ricardo encouraged me to give a speech here. And well, thank you. This is the first time for me to share this topic in CICC. Okay, let's start. And today I will share, just now as I explained, I will share some how to say, practice and experience obtaining government incentives. And first, let me make a self-introduction. I also want to say thank you to Sarah, because this is the first time for me to make so detailed self-introduction. I'm Paula from Modular China, and so give me 30 seconds for Modular China. Okay, Modular China is also a member of CICC, and when logistics meets automation, what happened? This is our product. So please, think vertical, think modular. For Modular China, in 2018, was established in SIP. 2019, we complete the 200 million investment and start to produce modular in China. And until end of last year, we set up 10 branches and offices to supply timely and efficient service to our customers. Okay. Why we choose SIP? Why we choose Suzhou? How about Suzhou investment environment? I think maybe you have a doubt. But since most of us, no doubt, perfect. I just want to say, let's start from a list. This is the latest 100 county in China. And you can see there are 3 counties from Suzhou. And the last Taichung is also number 11. So I think obviously for Suzhou, it's a very good investment environment. And let's take an example as SIP. Since Manuni, Modular China are all in SIP, we take an example. This is an assessment report from the third party, KPMG. I think most of you should be very familiar with this auditor. Okay. A set of figures among 190 economies, SIP is number 25. All of this, I think, is very close to us, because I also responsible communicate with SIP, with the government. So all of this one I can, feel. So let me make a very story. How many years did you? If you have lived in Suzhou for more than 5 years, would you please hands up? Raise your hand. Okay, 30%, because I think you can get the green card. Yes. Okay. The next is a set of satisfaction scores. Because
more than 5 years, we can get the green card.
Not easy, but you can apply.
It's minimum 5 years. Additional conditions.
But if you don't start, you never get. You can start. Yes.
Now much easier. Very much easier.
Yes.
Okay. Short comment.
Okay, and I communicate with the government not every day, but every week. Frequently, I will send WeChat, email, and also call with the government. And so I appreciate the legal environment, government service, and also the property rights protection. I want to see the policy implementation. This one I appreciate because everything is carried out and the SIP government always can inform the company in time. Okay, make another, sorry, because just now Mr. Zhi also said subsidiary. How many companies get subsidiary from the government? Would you please raise your hands? Not so much. Subsidiary, yeah. Sorry, my English is my net butter, so I need a bottleneck. So I need to improve. I think you are right to take part in this seminar organized by CICC, because after today you will try to get the subsidiaries, and it's not only important but also very useful. Because now just I see just 4 to 5 get. So I think actually most company can find 1 or 2 projects, incentive projects to apply. Another benefit, actually now the hot topic is about RCEP and also Hongqiao project. Luckily, in Suzhou, Kunshan, Taicang, Xiangcheng, and SRP in this project. So I think for the next several years, maybe 10, 15, you know, this is one project. Suzhou, we have the challenging, but also opportunities. So I think this is another chance for us. The first is RCEP. The second is the Hongqiao project. Okay, let's go back to the incentive projects. I think you will be more interested about these topics. Actually, Mr. Zhi just now already explained very detailed. So here I make a summarize. The first is investment incentive projects. I think like technology upgrade and digital workshop and intelligence plant and so on. Also capital increasing the welcome. The second is about tax incentive projects. The first is high tech. And also related is R&D expense deduction, plus deduction. Yeah. I just give several examples. Actually, in each item, there are many, like just now in the PPT. I already take a picture. I'm not sure if you already. And the third is R&D platform. Now, everywhere, not only Suzhou, I think they welcome the technology center. Yeah, this kind of R&D center, laboratory, like in Hainan for the medical and so on, very welcome. The last is about direct incentive projects. This here, maybe you think cannot understand, but if I give an example, maybe all of you will know. Headquarter economy. I'm not sure if you already hold, but if you satisfy, you'd better, I have to say, it's better for you to apply. Because in SIP, the leader, 3 days ago, I joined another seminar. Their director also said they encourage the headquarters in SIP in Suzhou. Okay, let me give an example about the application for high-tech enterprise. I will speak from 3 parts. The first is the significance of high-tech enterprise. First, for high-tech enterprise, the valid term is 3 years. You can apply to postpone 3 months in advance. The second, if you get the high-tech enterprise, it's very good for you to improve your brand, your innovation ability, and also another important, maybe we call software ability. You can get more support from the government. The last is about tax policy. Just now I explained tax policy is a direct encouragement. Our income tax, first you will get a subsidiary around 200,000. This part can cover your application cost. And the second is the tax policy is about your income tax rate will decrease from 25% directly to 15%. Because in my previous company, we apply and we save a very big value amount of income tax. Okay. Basic conditions for applying high-tech enterprise. First, new company less than 1 year cannot apply. Second, this is another very important factors because before 2010, if you got a authorized letter from your headquarters, you also can apply, but now cannot. Must be independent. So it's better for us to apply the patent locally. The third is about must be in the prescribed scope. As you know, if you are not in this scope, you are not encouraged. Number 4 is R&D people, science, technology, and also maybe some employees, their job is related with technology, development, new products, and so on. This rate be more than 10%. And the number 5 is about the expense. This one, R&D expense collection is not easy because I have the experience, I applied high-tech. But finally you find you should try to digger and digger, you can collect more expense. And if your sales income is less than 50 million, I remember 50 million, the percent is 5%. From 50 million to 200 million is 4%. More than 200 million is 3%, more or less like this one. But you know, this kind of information or data policy is always changing. Okay, and also the income, sales income from high-tech products must be more than 60%. And this too, because maybe we cannot use the data to measure, but we should know. At least the good company can apply. I make a very easy note. First is the high-tech field, like what I said just now, should be in the described scope. Second is about employee structure. R&D people should be more than 10%. Number 3 is about R&D expense, 5%, 4%, and 3%. Number 4 is about sales from high-tech products is 60%. And this one I suggest to apply the patent locally. And this one, because we have the patent, we have the technology ability, but we need transfer to our products. Okay, this is the organization management level, because this kind of management, you need to set up the projects, make schedule, training, and so on. The last is the growth. This is easy to measure, sales income and the company assets. Okay. So after we have this kind of proposal, and we should make a work plan, I suggest we can organize a, like a committee. The project manager can be the general manager, deputy general manager, or the director of the department. The first is technical department. They must involve this project because all the technology information, patent application, and the schedule, and all the related documents must be prepared by the technical department. The second is HR, because we need to supply the organization chart, the employee structure, and also the incentive plan, company incentive plan. The last is finance department. Finance department normally is following from the beginning to the end because they need to collect the R&D expense, they need to supply the tax records, they need to cooperate with the auditor to issue the specific audit reports for 3 years. Okay. After we clear about all the process, then how to improve our efficiency, communicate with the government. This one, I think, not only for apply the incentive projects, but also for our daily job. this topic is related with the second session of Mr. Zhi's speech. Okay, I make a very brief layout according to my experience. The first is latest policy. We must know the latest policy. If you don't know, you have no idea, like what's this? You didn't ask me, I don't know. We should check, we should know. From the company side, we should get all the latest information. The second is after we know all the policy, all the incentive projects, we should be clear about our company target. What shall we do? What shall we apply? After we clear about this one, this is I think, not they think. So we must communication with all related departments, internal and external. After here, we see everything is ready. We need to work. 万事俱备，只欠东风. So we should start to work and organize the committee to start. Then the last, after we prepared, we go to the government. We send all the documents, must be well prepared materials. Because I visit different departments, I always, how to say, sometimes I find some people, they visit for many, not many, several times, but they still go back, come. Why? Because they stop in this step. They only, how to say, solve this problem. They didn't make all overall view and check each step. And one time find all the problems and solve one times. So even they, how to say, visit the government for many times, but still didn't go to the final conclusion. So my suggestion is like these 4 steps, then we can get the success. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Director of Certificate Suspension. For the benefit of this, right? Is witnessing his experience about the supporting of the last. Please.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so thank you very much for this opportunity. Okay. So, thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm Giuseppe Ceppodomo. I'm General Manager Asia for Sogefi Suspension Components Business Unit. I'm going to share with you what is our experience in China in Sogefi about government subsidies. I am the third person talking about incentives, so for sure there will be something repeated, but at least it can be like a confirmation that what has been said before is confirmed also by real experience. And please. So a few words about Sogefi. We are a global company. We are present in 40 countries around the world. In China, we are present in Shanghai with a joint venture that is going to be closed this year, unfortunately. And we have 2 sites in Wujiang. We set this company in 2012. And today we have 2 sites in Wujiang producing all components for the 3 business units. We are talking about the suspension components, filtration, and air and cooling system. So I wanted to give some information starting from a very simple question that I used to receive from friends, colleagues, especially Italian or foreign anyway, working for foreign companies in China. So the very basic question, because as has been said by Mr. Zhi, also Paula, sometimes people even doesn't know that incentive exists in China. So this. So who can enjoy incentive? Almost every company, I would say. There is no any specific limitation on that. What are we talking about? As we have seen before, we are talking about cash and and tax reduction, mainly, very practically. Why we have to apply for incentive? The question is why not? So it's a big opportunity because especially for small companies, we are talking about big money. So, and then we have to consider that it's also an opportunity that is given to our competitors. So we have to be aligned in the market at least. When we can apply for incentives, anytime during the year, there is no specific time where the incentive is kicked off. Where? So subsidies, incentives, as you want to call it, are at any level. So talking about district, city, province, national. All information can be got through the local government. In our case, we work in Bujan. We have a very good relation with Bujan government. They address us to several bureaus in order to get all information. How we can apply for new incentives. I dedicated one slide later on to show what is the, let me call, almost a standard procedure. Of course, requirements can change, but the procedure is more or less the same for all incentives. How much we are talking about? Both Paula and also Mr. Zhi, they say some figures, but of course everything can change based on the subsidy, on the requirement. What I can say, we have seen already, sometimes it's also based on the size of the company, sales turnover, and the level of investment and the registered capital, of course. Next, please. Few comments on top of what I said already. We are talking about hundreds of opportunities, hundreds, so 200-300 per year that are released in total. I don't know exactly what is the number of last year, but we are on this level. What are linked to these subsidies? We are talking about products, but also manufacturing process. Sorry, back. Products, manufacturing process, asset investment, including investment on land and building, for instance, development plan, talents, also patents, R&D, innovation is a recurrent word when we talk about incentives. We have to say what we have seen in our experience in SOGEF, that big part of the incentives are recurrent every year. So every year we can see the same, maybe a different level, and not every year we can apply for the same incentive. Or maybe we can apply a different level depending on the year, depending on the incentive. So we have to check what is the requirement. In our experience, still what we see that there are more incentive schemes at the beginning of the year. So after Spring Festival, you can see a lot in this moment, at least in Bujan, we know the bureau is fully booked because they have a lot of project booked to be processed. And then at the end of the year, less, but still a lot of possibility. Interesting to know that the total amount of each investment, usually the pot is fixed, is limited, and sometimes the company they apply, that are eligible to get this incentive, are awarded following the approval date. So first come, first served. Please. With this slide, I wanted to resume what is our experience on incentive. So what we got, I wrote automotive manufacturing company because I think that can be considered as something standard for automotive manufacturing company is in terms of which kind of incentive I can apply and receive. So most of the part of the cake, let me say, is linked to product innovation, manufacturing technology, higher level of manufacturing. It means for us, for instance, is automation, process optimization, process control, and then also patents and innovation projects. Quite a big part, but much less, is linked to the presence in the company of talents, especially in R&D department, also in the management team. And a small part, but still consistent, I would say, is linked to the cooperation with the universities and government. When I talk about cooperation, usually for us, we are talking about a project, technical problem, so development of products and manufacturing technologies. Please. I think it's very interesting to know where exactly we can get information. So in Wujiang, for instance, we have, as I said, support with the local zone. The local zone addressed us to 3 specific bureaus in the zone: Economic and Development, Science and Technology, and Industrialization and Information Bureau. In our case, it was a direct contact, so we were there to talk directly with the interested people. In case all information can be got through website of the same bureau of the zone, we got also manuals. There is the picture on the right, and manuals and operating procedure and the agenda on incentive schemes. I don't know if it's in Suzhou they are doing the same. In Wujiang, we got this kind of paper to work on incentives. In Wujiang, still the 3 bureaus organize meetings and also training for apply for incentives. Then, of course, for us, it's also very important be part of the local community network, social network. We are talking about WeChat, the QQ, etc. Of course, last but not least, consulting company. So it's the easiest way, I would say, if you want to support by somebody external. Please. So standard procedure, let me say, for apply for a new incentive in general. Is recurrent in this slide, the word project, because at least in SOGEFI, we set the procedure to apply a new incentive as a new project. So we have a team, we have a project manager, we have a kickoff meeting, we may have some engineering change, I would say. So it's a pure project. The first point to consider is the screening for new potential incentive. Before I said we are talking about hundreds of potential opportunities. So somebody needs to read, need to go through, check every day almost which potential incentive can be suitable for us. It is almost a daily job. Then there will be a phase, it's a project evaluation. The first point that we consider is the lead time. I wrote a feasibility 1 week sometimes. Sometimes, of course, it's not always the case, but you can imagine when we are talking about weeks to prepare a lot of documentation, a lot of evidence to prepare the project book is not, sometimes the time is insufficient, but just enough. We made an assessment of requirement versus benefit. Sometimes the requirement and the work to prepare the project book is so heavy and the benefit may be quite low, so we give up. And then, of course, there is the project selection, management approval, and we start with the kickoff meeting. So it's a cross-functional involvement, as Paula said before. We have almost all first line. Sometimes we talk during the weekly meeting with the management team about kicking off a new incentive, the people involved, the project manager, the people that need to work, and we start the project book preparation. Once it's finished this part, and all the part in the square is what we have to do usually in a very short time, sometimes in 1 week, we submit the book, so we complete the application, let's say. After that, next phase is the government on-site audit. So we expect somebody come to the plant to verify our book, to check on-site exactly what is the situation. We have to manage a government visit. I appreciate what has been shared before by Mr. Zhi on this point. We are doing exactly that way. After the on-site audit, we expect to have a feedback in about 1 to 2 weeks. How we receive this feedback is posted online, so it's become public. That means that from this moment, we have to wait 2 weeks in case of any comment, external information. and after 2 weeks, the subsidy is awarded, is confirmed. It can happen during this time that we receive additional requests or some change in the documentation. As I said before, we use to work like in an engineering change in a normal project. For some on the project of the incentives, as we have seen before, for a high-tech company, for instance, is necessary a follow-up and maintenance because we have to keep, in this case, for 3 years. Resources. So for me, I really stress this point because the 3-point critical is a cross-functional involvement. So we need a project manager, a matrix organization. It's almost a daily activity. It's, sometimes a heavy job. The lead time can be very short. So we need really a very quick reaction. In our case, we have in CICC a dedicated resources. So here is working on incentives. She's the project manager that is managing, coordinating each incentive. And then, of course, we have a consulting company, but we are not addressed to consulting company to receive a proposal for new incentive, but we use it to apply the incentive we want to apply. So it's quite difficult. That's why for us it's very important also the selection of the consulting company, especially for topics about high-tech company, smart workshop. So it's very important to have a consulting company that have experience, a skill to work on this kind of topics. Please. Okay, you cannot read, of course. It's not the target is not to show you what is written. Maybe if you can zoom, but it's not necessary. I only want to show that I think we worked very well in the past 2 years. This is all incentive that we were able to get since August 19 and today. There are some ongoing. We are talking about 20, if I'm not wrong. And I only want to highlight the first 2 are related to the high-tech company. So we are certified, qualified as a high-tech company. And then there is other smart workshop at Jiangsu province, and then there is another smart workshop at Suzhou level. So for these 2 specific incentive certification, as you want to call, the first, I think Paul already talked a lot, and I will have the opportunity to talk later. For the smart workshop, the local zone is pushing a lot, is very supportive. So they also organize meeting, trainings for this workshop. They also provide some experts coming to the plant, make assessment, diagnosis. They give us a feedback in order to give us input to start a new project, a technical project, I would say. Please. Last slide. So we are certified high-tech company. I think this, as said before, is exactly what has been confirmed before by Paula. There are some figures because for us, for instance, R&D total cost, we are a company of more than 200 million sales turnover. We are 3% of the total cost about the R&D. When we talk about patents, we talk about different level of patents. Also for us, we try to get patents from headquarters in Europe, but in fact we have to do here. And so this is exactly what we are doing. What is the benefit? Cash, of course, in subsidies, tax reduction, as we said, from 25 to 15%. I have to say, as a high-tech company, we have access to specific new incentive only dedicated for high-tech company. And on top, we may have a higher level of benefit for the, let me call it, regular incentive schemes. For the maintenance, we keep for 3 years. During these 3 years, we have to provide such a number of patents, innovation projects, and of course, we also can expect additional audit on site to verify what we are doing. I finish. Thank you very much for your attention.
I'm going to invite Frans van Boesteren, professor and consultant. He will show us some opportunities about how to engage our relationship with government. Thank you, Frans.
Thank you, host, Luca, Mr. Luca, and for hosting. It is an Italian family here. I'm not Italian, I don't speak it, but I'm very happy. I'm very happy because northern Italy and so on, and Italy with a small and medium enterprise are very strong, like Mittelstand in Germany, the backbone basically of the success. So it's small and medium enterprise is very important. Let me introduce myself a little bit for those people who don't know me. I'm very old, but I have a young Chinese wife and a daughter of 9, so keep me young. And I have I'm a PhD and a green card, so I can do 2 jobs. I'm the external advisor of McKinsey, and I'm teaching at the business school, project management, CSR, and operations strategy. So that's me. What I want to do with the 30 minutes is first 10 minutes, clarification questions. Then 20 minutes in 2 parts. One is what are the needs? So the takeaway should be that you learn something new which you didn't know in the past. And the speakers have already covered a lot of ground and also quite confidential information and good information. So the second part, I would like to have the discussion on what people think we need more, or what, because it is already available, incentive, and what the government can do more. The last part. Okay, first 10 minutes. You had a question. Can you state your name and come?
Yes, Marco Busoli, should I stand up or can
No, you can do anything.
Marco Busoli, I work with
Yeah.
And of course, the lawyers say that you are not supposed to allow those inspectors coming from different government office to come inspect your company without informing you. But actually, they don't act in this way. They come and they pretend to check. They have the official uniform and they say that their job is to check. So it's not that they wait for you to allow them to check. They just come and check. So I think for the other documents, sorry, a complete question. For the documents, it's always fine because there is always the excuse that finally I have the job I have to sign. I don't speak Chinese when they are there. So my colleague won't tell them that I speak Chinese. So finally, I cannot read, I cannot understand, always need to wait someone to translate. So I always have these 1 2 days without being unpolite, and they understand that they cannot force me to sign something that I cannot read. So for document like signing and stuff like verbal of the inspection like this, but this is okay. But inspection you cannot avoid because if they come, they want to check. If not, then you can stop them.
So what is the question? No.
He said do not allow them. He said do not allow them.
Yeah.
Do not allow them to go around and visit. Actually, they do.
Any experience of other people?
So maybe the question could be how we can prevent, or can we prevent them to enter in the workshop by using the loading dock gate or whatever, instead of using the main door?
You cannot ask to come tomorrow? No.
No, actually, by law, the only, let's say, entity who has the force to search your premise is the police. And the police cannot do it at any time. They should have a society, an order of search. And they shall show you, and after, otherwise you can refuse to search.
Also, the environment.
The environment is like they don't have the thing like you must allow them to do that at that time. Okay, you can say we have this procedure. You have please come in meeting room, stay for a while. Let me arrange our EHS department to accompany you. And in the meantime, You just arrange some preparation, and that should be acted in a faster way. This is why I said you have to be trained. Your staff need to be trained or as an SOP to do so. It's not like you don't allow
any more experience with this, but how to, because your advice was, Mr. Zhi, to say, well, don't allow this, and you have to have legal advice us, but how do you, and you have to be polite, coffee and tea and so on. How do you do when they come and you don't want them to go into your premises? How do you manage that? Yes.
If I may, many visitors say after a year.
you like your coffee. And tea.
Avoid them to enter. I don't know if it's the case. So what we should do is one fact. What we can do is another. So I think maybe we can block. But if the environmental bureau or the town city, that also town city come to us to check something, I want to check inside the plant, even if I can refuse, I'm not supposed to refuse on my side at least. By experience, I would prefer maybe to drive the visit in a way where to avoid some critical, potential critical point. If it's a part, I could accept the visit anyway.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Any other clarification question on the point?
Yeah. Because they need people like HIS and follow them, and to say no, it's impossible. We just receive the request and we organize this. That's
yeah, not an issue.
Yeah, but not so much issue. They come and this is normal.
Okay.
I have a question still on this point on the visit, because last year especially we faced many visits, but not all from Fujian government, Fujian side, but from Suzhou, Nanjing, Tongli, Wuxi. Even the same day, even the same day, one visit in the morning, one in the afternoon. So it seems what somebody said, there is like a cross-checking between several.
I confirm. They do it on purpose to avoid like close relationships.
Exactly. It's like not only a competition. Before you were talking about the targets, so fine. So there is a target for single department in terms of fine. Maybe there are also cross target each other to find something not. So that can be really a critical. It's not a question. It's not,
okay.
We want to have a confirmation.
Yeah.
Also, for some cases, therefore, maybe Wuxi is competent for the investigation in your company. Maybe they have a case opened, and they can it's related to your some business transactions with your company, and then come to check as well. Not certain like more from the MSA point of view, but for EPP it's quite geographically competent.
Yeah. More questions for the three speakers? Paula.
I have a question.
Yeah, Mr. Luca.
To the lawyer. This is something about something that never happened here in Suzhou, but it happened to me in another province. We were in another province, and the common practice there from the administration, when there was an inquiry ongoing and visit to company, was to ask people that were questioned to go to the public office and take digital fingerprints, which was a very strong practice that was actually scaring a lot of people, and particularly foreigners. In this case, if there is not, like you say, a specific notice, and the office call you, ask you to, are you legally obliged to go, or you can refuse?
For this,
Digital prints, yes.
but for which kind of check this was?
For instance, in this company where I was working for, we were object of a fiscal inquiry. Yes, which was involved actually.
Fiscal.
No, it was
Fiscal.
involved actually one former employee that he has basically sold some facciao of the company. So theoretically, we were absolutely protected because it was not our fault. But they started to come to.
I believe it's police.
Yes,
Police economic crime section.
Exactly. So the point was theoretically that we were not exposed, we were not even assumed to be guilty about anything, but they were asking for physical fingerprints.
I mean, if it was a request from the Public Security Bureau, which is police, to request you in cooperation or interrogation for ongoing investigation, criminal case, you are obliged to. And other the public office, for example, like market supervision administration, they can ask you, invite you, they give you a notice, you come. But if you don't come, it's not that they can force you to come. This is what I understand from the.
So as long as it's not really a criminal inquiry, you're not legally obliged to.
Yes.
Okay, we have on the positive sides Paula, Mr. Capodiomo, and very detailed how to do it. I think many people, some people already do the same things, but there might be people who don't do it yet. They get the slides, yeah? Ricardo, yeah, so that's very good. Any questions for Paula or Mr. Capodiomo? Yeah, please.
Hello everyone. May I introduce myself a little bit? Actually, I'm from business school as well.
Okay,
I'm
good.
from Liverpool University.
Okay, yeah.
And now I'm assistant professor at this university, and my research topic actually is the role of the government on international firms in China.
Yeah.
So it's very happy to have this opportunity to join this session. I have a particular question for these two speakers. That's very excellent achievement in getting money from the government, the subsidiaries. So my question is, I noticed there are a lot of subsidiaries from different levels of the government. So when the company apply for the subsidies, do you have the priority to certain type of subsidiaries? Which ones for the firms they must get it, or which ones maybe you can choose to apply or not? Do you have any priorities on subsidies?
Paula? Capodone?
I can answer.
Yeah, you can answer.
I can answer
Yeah,
based on
please.
our experience. So we are not forced to apply for incentive. It's up to us to do it. As I explained before, we are going to select a project. And there are lots. Sometimes we have no resources to work on everything. So we are focused on some of them. Once we apply for one incentive, you may be blocked to a similar incentive, or maybe a same incentive but at different level. You apply a province level, and then a city district, you cannot apply. Maybe you can apply the year after. So we are going to prioritize the number and the type of incentive that we want to apply. Yes, yes. But there is not a specific, at least for us, I'm speaking based on my experience. We don't have this kind of limitation.
Okay, I have another question because from my understanding, for Chinese government, yes, they provide a lot of funding to foreign firms to attract foreign firms to Chinese market. So it means that for the government, they maybe have some purpose to guide the firm to do what the government wishes them to do. So for example, for Chinese government, maybe they invest a lot of money to buy patents. So especially I noticed a lot of high-tech firms here. So if you apply to subsidies, do the government have the requirement about the ownership of patents?
No, there is no requirement to have the ownership of patents. Based on my experience, I have to correct. So the government is not an incentive, at least for the incentive we apply, is not trying to attract companies, even if the incentives are very attractive, of course. But starting from the 5-year plan, we're talking about high development, we are talking about innovation, smart. So all these topics are deployed on some incentive, at least for automotive manufacturing company. You can find exactly the same wording, the same kind of incentive being to this topic, not to attract investment, but to develop a higher level manufacturing company.
More questions to Paula, or then I would like to ask a question that, because the neighbor is Mr. Uwe Teunis here, is from Bruckner, and it's missing a little bit in the presentations, because he informed me that exchanging information and also on with the customs brings benefits. Can you tell us your story about your relation with the customs? Because there's something which is not yet in the presentations.
Right. So, finally, we had a talk in that office 100 meters in this direction from my office. I can look to this building here at a very short way. And I explained to Franz that we started already last year to do the preparation for the AEO certification. Does anybody know what AEO stands for? It means Authorized Economic Operator. An Authorized Economic Operator is a kind of partner of customs. So this exists in EU customs, it exists in China with China customs. And when we started actually this, there are different levels. So if you don't do anything, you are on, let's say, the B level. There's a level below if you have done something wrong. And then there are two levels above, which is the so-called general level and the advanced level. And there are only a few percent in these upper levels. So a few percent in this general level and even less than 1% in this advanced level. Right now we are preparing ourselves for this advanced level. And of course you might ask, why are we doing this if almost nobody is doing this? But we will see a lot of benefits from that. We actually produce for our sister company in Germany a product which is quite voluminous. So each project has about 50 containers and we do 40 to 50 projects a year. That means in this year we are moving around 2,000 to 2,500 containers. Small company. And each project is even quite more voluminous behind that. These are complete production plant, and all these projects go out of China. Some of them go directly to export. Some of them go to bonded logistic park and go back to China. That means a lot of customs transfer, border crossing, and we think actually that by doing this, we have less inspection. So inspection rate goes, for example, from 6-7% down to less than 1%, 0.5% around. The whole processing time in customs is much faster. On the contrary, we have to do a lot. So we have to invest into infrastructure, into cameras, into separation, into entrance systems. We have to divide our storage, our finished goods storage. We have batches. We have all kinds of security measurements, not just with our company, but also with our suppliers. We have to install some software so that customers get directly our movements in and out, import, export. That's a lot of investment from our side, but we think it's worth to do so.
Okay. Any questions for Uwe on this? Because it's interesting. Huh? It is not financial. It's just sharing information and get the grading that you have. Your risk in customs clearing is less. So that is an interesting thought. Investing. In my experience, big project 20 years ago, we missed out on the Shenzhen customs. Big mistake, because we had a list of 60 government agencies we had to do. And there was a big problem. Then we had to took about 3 months to get the relation going again. Yeah, so customs are extremely important for your business and the risk of supply chain disruptions. Yeah. So this, thank you. Okay, no questions. Then I'll have a new subject, which is not here, is services by the government. Yeah. Running out of time?
No, we have some questions raised online. So I'll read for you.
Yeah, you read it. You
okay.
read it. You read it.
The first question is to Giuseppe. How do you get information from local bureaus about trainings and incentive schemes? Do they publish announcement online? How do you find access information? And procedure for applying, and how often does it occur?
Yeah, but that is in the slides.
In the slide.
Yeah, so we answer that offline because it's in the slides.
Okay,
Next
then
one.
another question. Question also again for Giuseppe. How many people you have totally focused on subsidy management, and according to your current experience, what is subsidy level that you achieved in 2019, 2020? And if you have forecast 2021, this question is raised by Federico Bonotto from Feist.
So I have one person who is dedicated to management.
Speak louder.
Management of this kind of project. The second is the level of incentive.
Yeah, the amount of the incentive. What do you gain? How many people are involved?
I think it's not relevant. I think there is also public information related to the incentive that we got as a Sogefi online. So we are talking about if we want to have no millions of renminbi.
But the question is, you have to invest in your people, and you know, because small companies have little overhead, lean organizations, so you don't have them. So you have to make a selection which subjects you do. What are the criteria to select your project? Yeah.
The project for the incentive.
Yeah.
This is a day-by-day job.
Day by day.
We don't need training. So the people is skilled to interface with all departments in the company. So depending on the incentive schemes,
yeah,
the project manager is going to talk to R&D department, to production, to quality, EHS.
Okay.
So we have that's why I say it's a cross-functional involvement.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so your public affairs person is basically the person who gets the first information of what is happening.
Is the person that is going to get this information online and through direct contact with the local zone.
Yeah.
We have a very good relation with the local zone, with the 3 bureaus that I share.
So you get advanced information,
yes,
basically.
We have a direct contact. I guess they are also in the WeChat group where we are going to share all information.
Yeah.
We got from them the manual, the hard copy manual, agenda of the all possible investment, incentive.
Yeah. I have a friend who's a Dutch guy, and he has a company here with his wife, and he gave 5% of his shares to the government, SRP. So the SRP thinks, this is my company. He gets all the information very early. Yeah? So that is a way. Yes, of course. Otherwise, it doesn't go. We don't exist here, basically. Sorry, but my wife. I'm also have a Chinese wife. But so that is a way. And what we did in the Shell project 20 years ago, give 5% to Guangdong government. So they are there in each board meeting. They have all the information, and then they become part of the project. So the vice governor of Guangdong had a meeting for all his departments in the province. Said, well, you support this project as a national interest. And we got all the support. So giving a very minority shareholding is not bad. We gave it.
Just give it.
For free, yeah. Because then you get a lot of cooperation. Yeah? Okay, so that's just a note. Next subject I would like to do. Services by the government, waste disposal, effluent water treatment, utilities, power and steam. Any experiences in this room, in this area? Because if you're a small company, you have to have your own waste treatment, and your neighbor has one, and you lose the economics of scale. And the government might be interested, especially the environmental bureau, to provide a service. In Germany, but also in Holland, we have basically wastewater treatment by the government, and we have a small treatment to enter it. Yeah,
actually,
please.
the trend today, as far as I know, is that any company becomes responsible for its own waste, therefore cannot dispose outside in third party.
Yeah, but that's legal. But the practical, I'm an engineer. The practical is, you know, the government can do a service to take the waste, provided the waste is.
The government asks the company to give them and guarantee at least a certain amount of waste,
Yeah, of
so
course.
that they can handle, and for the rest, they do not allow the company to dispose. So there is an important balance.
No.
Well, I
No.
work in environmental protection.
Yeah, but
very sensitive.
there are many examples that the government has a wastewater treatment plant,
Yeah, we're seeing the same thing.
and then the companies can only give their wastewater on certain conditions, of course. Yeah. And how about, because utilities, power and steam is important. Is there any experience in the room that you share utilities with neighbors or with other companies?
Well, I had an act experience with the government in Wuhan for the same thing.
Please share.
Yes. Well, it was not a bad experience. It was nasty. Nasty.
Yeah. What was it?
Well, they were pushing us to. Well, honestly, I must say that my company is a startup, okay? My company rented a building that was suggested by the government. I was still not in the company, and then we didn't know at the very beginning that we couldn't have the electricity only for us, but we had to buy from the neighbor. Which is fine, okay? Yeah. In a certain way, it's fine. It's enough to make a contract, in some extent, share the power meters, and read it together.
They install for you a power meter for you.
No, we install ourselves on the because we had a different. We had a split at a certain point, but the state grid had only one connection. The funny thing is that I tried for several months to reach an agreement in order to make a contract. The neighbors, they had to get the money, and they didn't want to sign. Every time, no. Every time, no. Every time, no. The investment bureau in Wuhan even threatened me. Yes, I recorded the meeting. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I had to threaten them.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So it ended up that and every time, the funny thing is that who has to get the money normally has the interest to provide a contract because they want the money. No, I did everything. And I even went to the state grid to ask if they could split the line. They said, sorry, we have, and they gave me a copy of a piece of paper of an internal something, I don't know how to say, sorry for my crap English. They say since 2014, they cannot split the power from in the same unit. Okay.
Could be possible. Yeah.
Well, it ended up that they did it.
Oh.
But only after I said, okay, this is the recording. Yeah. She interviewed, we had a big help from the Italian Chamber of Commerce. They didn't expect to meet somebody from the Italian Chamber of Commerce in the meeting. And I said, oh, really? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't have a very good relationship, but I have to write, this is illegal. Tax Bureau says don't pay. Bank is not gonna pay if you don't provide the contract. CPA said, don't do it. So, government.
So, yeah, smaller companies, SMEs, have difficulty in their negotiation power. Big companies like Shell, my company, easy, relatively easy, and then you can optimize your outsourcing of services. Yeah.
Franz, I want to add something.
Yeah.
At the same time, because of my previous experience in another company in S&D, blah, 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 I involved the Environmental Protection Bureau. Since the very beginning, we have filters and this and that. They came to visit us many times, not officially, and they were super supportive. They help a lot.
Yeah.
No problem for me to go ahead, do your things, your filters are okay, you're fine. Okay, then we provided all the measurements, and obviously they were good. But they said, okay, we know what you have done, we have experience, no problem.
I hear that on the environmental side, it is a bit tough, but they help, and it is in the end a good thing. Last subject, training. I know that 90% of the training positions in Germany are in Mittelstand. And there's the workforce training, yeah, the dual ladder training, very strong, Switzerland, Germany, and so on. Very important. And I see there are incentives of the European SME for training. Yeah? But is there an opportunity here to do anything on training? Because in my experience, I'm now 30 years in Asia, 20 years in China. And I advised a Chinese company 6 years, and we don't train because when we train them, they leave the company because they are more worth. Yeah, that is the logic here, because you cannot keep them. Yeah. So, is there an opportunity for training your people with the support of the EU SME Europe or here? I know there was Brandenburg. There was a Brandenburg training center here sometime, left again. Is there any training experience where the government supports us? Yes.
You're talking about the training for office staff, of course.
No, workers also, vocational training.
Because at this moment for workers, I think, at least for us, the problem that we have to get even workers in the company, we have a lot of temporary workers.
Yeah.
So with temporary is continuous training, a continuous living and coming. Yeah. Big cost for us. So it's a very sensitive topic, I would say.
Yeah. And also the availability of skilled workers becomes more and more difficult because this is a high cost location.
For office staff, for me, if we stress on talent management and the company should be able to provide training to retain people. Of course, this is based on the company of many.
There's a question. I'm happy other people speak. Yeah.
Yeah. According to our experience for training, let's say we are trying to negotiate. We are based in Changshu, so it's not SIP investment bank, it's chats. And we are negotiating with the local government to make an agreement for a vocational school dedicated. So using an existing vocational school and let's say expanding the scope of this vocational school with something more in order that they can train mostly blue collars to work for them.
Thank you. I want to close here. We have Mr. Luca will take over, I suppose, Ricardo. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Actually, quite a new to give some share to the government. I guess no one talked about it in the past. Anyway, thank you, Franz. Luca, would you like to introduce shortly your company?
Shortly, we organize a little plant tour for all of you. First of all, we will be in two groups, one in English and one in Chinese, so you will be free to choose. So who we are here? After a little institutional presentation about us. So here Manoli Suzhou is part of this next slide. Is a part of a group called MRI, Manoli Rubber Industries. We are present worldwide in 43 countries, and we are organizing 3 different organizations. One called Manoli Hydraulics, another one Friconnetto, and then RICO. These are three business units. Manuli Hydraulics is the production and wholesale arm. Here in Suzhou, we are part of it. Riconnetto by Manuli is our distribution division. And then Raiko is the latest division, result of an acquisition happened last year around this time, an Australian group. For the three organizations, anyway, the product is always the same. Our main product is hydraulic hoses, quite common goods in the daily life. Is a component of the hydraulic engine meant to activate the force inside it. The typical application is in construction equipment. That's why we have all these toys. Actually, all these toys are big trophy for us. Then you have also many other applications in industrial machinery like injection moldings, as well as wind power, for instance, now where green energy is becoming so popular. Here in Suzhou, we make only hydraulic hoses. In our product range, there is also fittings that were previously mainly made in Poland for us. And then now we are also making them in Dalian, in the north of China, thanks to this acquisition we made last year. Another part of our product range are machines. Our machines are very simple and anyway, machine meant to connect the hoses with the fittings and assemble them on the line for the final customization to the customers. Next slide. So in our organization, we have 4 production plants for hydraulic hoses. Suzhou, where we are here, present since 2005. Another plant in Poland, third one in Orsha in Belarus, and finally the one in Malaysia in Kuala Ketin. As far as the connectors are concerned, please. I covered it. Next one. For fittings connectors, we have 2 plants, one in Mysłowice in Poland, and then, as I mentioned before, Dalian in China, in the north of the country. So today we are very happy here in China, at least by a commercial point of view, because finally we have the full product range localized in the country with a Chinese supply chain, which is the most important thing to cope with the current market condition. Last slide about Manuli Hydraulics Suzhou. Next slide, please. So the company here was established in 2004 after Manuli was already trading product in the country for over 15 years. We occupy here over 100,000 square meters, and at present we employ more or less 500 people. It's a bit outdated, this slide. We are organizing 3 shifts daily, covering 6 days a week, because this is a moment where really demand is booming, not only in China, but also elsewhere. Nominal capacity for this plant is around 30 million meters of hoses per year. And we are organizing 2 different divisions also inside our plant. One is the hose manufacturing. The second is a dedicated OEM unit for where we assemble tailored hose assemblies for the OEM, the original equipment manufacturer. In this unit, we have a production of more or less 130,000 pieces per month. Here, Suzhou is organized also as a production hub with a dedicated logistics center for China and Asia, not inside the plant, but just here 5 minutes from this location. Now, regarding our visit, we feel free to ask any question you might have. You can choose. I hope you have a good time. And also, please don't forget to pick up a little gift that we left for you, a little diary for 2001. Thank you for coming here.
Thank you.